right, so we're starting off with one of the most basic forms that we use, and that is a pinch pot. The need to be able to form this, the need to be able to create this cannot be understated. You will never forget the feel of clay in your hands. This is returning to earth, really smelling the mud, the dirt. It's just awesome. And you're also the master of the clay. All right, so let's do a pinch pot together. So the first thing we're gonna do, the first thing I have kids do, the first thing I love to tell adults to do when they come back into using this, it does bring back so many memories for those of us that are fortunate to have had experiences to use clay when we were kids, is I have them feel it and smell it. There will be a day when kids remember this. Have them smell this clay. It's kind of like opening a box of crayons. All right, so we're gonna wad this up in your hands. My clay is drying out, so I'm adding water to it, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But you do not need to have a lot of water on a table if you are working in an elementary school, because there will be some kids who keep adding water to this, and then it turns into mud by their terms. If you have a little chunk like this, it turns into silt. We will use that later. Or not silt, slip. We'll use this later as a glue. But here, look, you can't form anything. Just like with dried out clay, if you over wet this clay, you can't really form anything with mud. It just falls right apart. All right, so we're ready for a pinch pot. Let's do this. So have the kids, and this is a really super small kindergarten size chunk of clay here. They squish it all into a ball, and then they are gonna roll this in their hands. Now, there are a lot of kids who are super impatient, and they're not gonna wanna do this, but you need to explain how to put pressure evenly in the palms to roll this around in their hands. I have campus cloths that I use. There's always dried out clay on it. It looks dirty, it looks disgusting, but it protects your tables from having to clean up all this muddy mess, but it's also great so that the clay doesn't stick to the table. It is also, as opposed to palms, you can use this as a great rolling surface for the clay. All right, so we're gonna roll it. As with anything in art, nothing has to be perfect. You're just not gonna, we're human beings, we're imperfect. Your ball of clay is not gonna be perfect. And if you're working with older kids, you might wanna say a sphere of clay. All right, so here we go. The next thing we're gonna do is put our thumb inside this sphere, push it down, and I have the kids flip it upside down. It needs to be able to hang off of their fingers. One of the hardest things to teach is something you can't see. You can't see the base of their pinch pot yet. They can't see it. And so it's hard to explain it to them. So I'm just gonna teach them why it's called a pinch pot. It's because you're actually pinching the clay. So I'm gonna start to pinch, put my finger inside, and I gently pinch the edges of the pot. Pinch, pinch, turn. Pinch, not too hard. If I pinch too hard, this is what's gonna happen. It gets really thin, and it will break right off. So you're gonna pinch it, pinch, but it needs to remain kind of thick. Now, how to explain this to kids? It varies. If I happen to have the toothpick thing, this is what we use in the classroom. These are basically scratch art sticks, just large, huge wooden toothpicks. They don't want to make it any thinner, so I have to actually hold this up and show them. Don't make this thinner, skinnier than the stick. Make it thicker than a stick, not too thick. Okay, so for example, what is not too thick? That's way too thick, guys. So I'm gonna pinch, turn, pinch, turn, pinch. Okay, so this looks like a wadded mess right now. So I'm gonna go back inside of this little V right here because it doesn't form a wall. It has a dip in it. I need to make the wall come up. So I'm going to pinch the clay, pinch, turn, pinch, turn. All right, now to the middle section. So So guys, we've done the top edge. It doesn't look like a pot yet. It looks like I'm pinching a piece of clay. So the next part is to do this middle part. So I'm gonna stick my thumb back down in here in this hole, back down in here. And I'm gonna take this, here we go, watch this. I'm gonna take it, put my fingers on the outside. Watch what I'm doing. I'm gonna start pinching. Oh, did you see how that raises up? That's what needs to happen. So I'm gonna put my finger back in here, pinch. Oh man, it ripped. Tell them not to worry about rips right now. Go back to the middle, pinch, pinch, turn, pinch, turn, pinch, turn. This is about what it looks like when you're working with kindergarten and first grade. It looks pretty good, but it's heavy. You know this as a teacher. If you're an adult starting out for the first time, it should not be really heavy down here. Most kindergartners and first graders are gonna walk up to you and say, I'm done. No, we gotta work on a couple of things. First of all, the base of this pot is still really thick. So what I like to do is make them close their eyes. I'm sitting in a really low chair. I take their little tiny hands and we both make them close their eyes. We both put our hands inside of this pinch pot and we do this. We pinch the bottom together so they can feel the thickness of the clay down at the bottom. So I'm gonna pinch down at the bottom. I pinched the top part, I pinched the middle part, and now we gotta do the bottom part, the base of it. So I'm putting my thumb in here, pinch, turn, pinch, turn, pinch, turn, pinch, turn, pinch, turn. Now, once we get this far, we're doing really well. This looks like a little kindergarten piece of clay. And you know what? That's fantastic. They just made a pot by themselves. All right, so the next step is to teach kids how to seal up any cracks that happen in the top lip of it. So what I like to do is teach them to take the clay gently, and I'm gonna fold, take this whole piece. I am the master of the clay. I'm gonna take this piece of clay, overlap. Now once I've overlapped, this is a big part, we don't pinch anymore. This is about taking your finger and gently dragging the clay, putting my fingers inside of the clay, gently dragging, gentle. You're taking clay and you're dragging it up, dragging it up, dragging it up, dragging it up, dragging it up. Now this might take some practice for some of them, and that's what your job is. You're there to help. So here's another split right here. I'm gonna take this, overlap. Look at this extra clay right here. That's perfect for me to drag. Watch this, just gently. I'm not pushing in, I'm dragging up. So I'm gonna drag up and push it back down on top of the crack. Up, oh no. That's totally fine, guys. All good. You drag the clay up, drag it up, drag it up. Okay, I still have a split. This is the next part. We're not gonna worry about these kind of splits. I've got a big crack right here. You guys see that? So I'm gonna take my fingers inside. Oh man, it's splitting all kinds of places. So I'm gonna gently drag my finger or my thumb over that crack, over that crack. Once we reach this point, I tell the guys they have to come check with me to see how deep their pots are. We both spin it around, they close their eyes, all this kind of stuff. We fix all the open cracks that they've got, all that kind of stuff. This is the next step. You tell them to take it back to their table and they are going to tap, tap, flip it upside down and tap, tap. Now what do I mean by that? This is what I mean by that. They need to make it where it doesn't roll over like that. Okay. So I'm gonna take it and they gently, you don't tell them to slam it. You can demonstrate what happens if you do slam it, but you gently tap, tap, and then they realize, whoa, it is sitting up. And then after we tap, tap, flip it, tap, tap, flip, tap, tap. And there are the edges, they're smoother now. Okay, now this is a choice you have to make as an art teacher, and it definitely depends on the class that you've got, because every class just seems to have its own little personality. If there are a lot of cracks like this clay has, because this is my own personal clay and it's dried out because I haven't used it in so long. You can talk to them about how to dip their finger in the water without overdoing it. You gently rub the cracks. Kind of looks like elephant skin. You can even show a picture of what elephant skin looks like. But here's the thing. You have got to tell them if they put too much clay on here, it's going to turn back into mud. You can re-demo the what happens if you do too much of that. All right, so after we smooth all this out, pretend like I just did this whole thing. I smoothed it out. Their next step is to draw designs on their clay, and if they want to, they can write their name on the bottom. But you're going to do that later, and hopefully you've got a toothpick at your disposal or some kind of a tool. Wait, here it is. All right, so this is what it looks like. This is how I kind of write their name. After they've written their name, somewhere on here, and if it's a long name, get their initials. But let's just say their name. I don't know what their name is. Let's just get initials, so I'll do. And let's say their class code is 1W. 1 for first grade, W for the class they're in, like Miss Williams. At this point, your kids have the option. This is something you might want to do after they've drawn all the designs. Actually, I would definitely wait to do this. But if you have these on their tables, if there's still time, the kids can draw any kind of line design on here to make it a really cute, their own little pot. And invariably, there'll be some kids that start to do this. Just let them do it, because this is their pot. It is definitely, most likely, probably the first time they've ever used clay. They're working with a new substance, so it's great for them to have any kind of experience they want. So they can draw on the inside of their pot or on the outside of their pot. Cool deal.